The Buffalo Dance. I could tell you about the buffalo dance if I wanted to. There are many gifts of truth in that story, but unless you pay attention, you might miss them. But that is the way of the Blackfoot storytellers. They make the story so interesting that at first it seems only to be an exciting story, but then when you think about what you heard, suddenly the gifts of truth appear to make the story all the more beautiful. I will not tell you what these gifts are. That is for you to determine. It was getting late in the season. The women had been busy gathering nuts and berries from the surrounding bushes, wandering ever further to fill their stores. The prospects for the coming winter were looking very, very bleak. Even as they worked and picked feverishly, the whole village was worried about what would become of them. Surely, if they did not have a successful buffalo hunt, they would starve before the spring came again. The men had been scouting in the places where they knew the buffalo traveled. Herds were few and far between, and they were getting desperate. Any small game they could kill would never keep them through the winter. No, without one good buffalo hunt, they were finished. It was not that they hadn't seen small herds, but somehow they always avoided the blinds that would drive them over the fall. The hunters couldn't understand what was wrong. This had never happened before. After all, they were skilled at the buffalo hunt. Each knew his place and did his part in driving the buffalo over the edge of the steep cliff to fall into the ravine where they could be butchered. But every time they were near the edge, the large old bull that was obviously their leader suddenly veered off and the herd stampeded after him. The hunters would have to go home empty-handed. What had they done to offend the buffalo that they would no longer feed them? They talked and debated late into the night about it, but could not find an answer. All they could do was try and try again. There was nothing else to do. The youngest daughter of the old chief was his pride and joy. She was beautiful in his eyes, happy in her play, her work, and her devotion to her family. The chief doted on her. He was privately envious of his wife when she taught the daughter the things she must know to be a good wife and tribeswoman. Often he hung around the two of them instead of tending to his duties as chief, just to be near his daughter. This bothered the wife because she believed that men should do what men do, and women's work and teaching should be left to women. Being a woman was very hard work, and she didn't need any men around to know the secrets that made women so valuable to the community. She would send him away grumbling for a while. Early one morning, the daughter went down to the ravine to draw water from a stream that flowed there. She was filling the skins to bring back for her family's daily needs when a sound from the plateau above caused her to look up. There, at the edge of the cliff, stood the giant old buffalo and his herd. "Why do you refuse to feed us?" the girl asked. "What have we done to offend you? Why do you cause us to starve?" "You speak to us less and less. It seems people think they are better than buffalo," answered the big bull. He was actually the shaman of the herd. "In order for us to feed you, you will have to give me a gift." The girl wondered what she could give the buffalo that he might value enough to feed her people. There was nothing she had or could get that would be of any interest to a buffalo. Finally, the girl said to him, "If only you would come over the cliff, I will marry one of you." To her great surprise, the buffalo herd began to come over the cliff. She was so startled that she started to run. Soon she found her path blocked by the old shaman. "Oh, no, you don't," said the buffalo. "You cannot run away from your promises. I have kept mine. Look at my relatives down there, all dead because you said you would marry one of us. I am the one. You shall marry me." It was still early in the morning when the family got up and noticed that the young girl was missing. The old chief was sick with worry. He summoned all the people in the village to look for his daughter. They searched everywhere without success. Finally, they came upon the ravine where the girl had been. To their amazement, they saw all the dead buffalo lying there. The women hurried back to the village to get their tools and equipment to carry the meat and skins back to the camp. This winter they would have enough to eat. They were thankful, even though they couldn't understand the reason for their good fortune. But the chief was heartbroken. His beautiful daughter was nowhere to be found. He searched everywhere with no trace of the girl. Finally, he composed himself out of his grief and began tracking his daughter, as he knew how to do. Before long, he came across some strange footprints. He recognized those of his daughter, but those next to them looked like buffalo tracks. Full of hope that his daughter was still alive, he searched all the more eagerly. Finally, he grew tired. The old chief sat down on a round stone to rest his weary body and to think about what he should do next. He was still sitting there when he noticed that a magpie had lit on the branch of a tree near him. Not knowing what else to do, he spoke to the magpie. "Oh, beautiful bird," he said, "I am afraid my daughter has been kidnapped by a buffalo. Have you seen her?" The magpie asked, "Is she a handsome young girl?" "Oh, yes," replied the chief. "The most handsome girl one could imagine." Said the magpie. "I have seen such a girl with the buffalo just over that hill, very close by." "Magpie, I am very tired from searching so long. I must rest here for a while longer. Would you please fly over there and tell her that her father waits for her on this stone by the tree?" "I will," said the magpie, and flew off. When the magpie arrived at the place where the herd was, he found that they were all asleep except for the girl, who was busy cleaning the camp. He flew up to her, lighting on the ground beside her. He said in a quiet voice, "Your father has been searching for you for a long time. He waits for you on the stone by the tree just over the hill." The girl jumped back in fear. "Oh, magpie," she whispered, "it is very dangerous for him there. I miss my father and my family very much, but I have given my promise to the buffalo, and I must keep my word." "What shall I tell your father?" asked the magpie. "Tell him," she said, "to wait. I will come when I can. There must be a way I can see my family without breaking my promise." Presently her buffalo husband awoke. He took off his horn and gave it to the girl. "Go fetch me some water," he demanded. The girl took the horn and went to the wallow near the stone where her father was still waiting. She ran to him and embraced him. Happily, the old chief took his daughter's hand and said, "Come, daughter, I am so happy to have found you. We will go home now and share the good news." "No, no," cried the girl. "There is too much danger. I have promised to marry the shaman buffalo so the village may have food for the winter. If I go with you, I will have broken my word, and the herd will find us and kill us all. I have to find another way to get home with my family." She pulled away from her father and proceeded to fill the horn with water for her husband. The old chief sat back down on the stone, sad and dejected. Upon the daughter's return to the herd, her buffalo husband sniffed her fiercely. "I smell other humans," he snorted. "I don't like this. It is a trick of some kind." With a mighty bellow, the shaman bull woke the remaining herd. When they were told what had happened, they went into a strange formation and with their tails held high, and did a slow, rumbling buffalo dance until the whole earth trembled beneath them. When it was done, they ran to the place where the old chief was sitting. They trampled him into the ground until nothing was left of him except a few pieces of bone and skin. The girl threw herself onto the ground in front of the herd, wailing and crying in grief for her dead father. But the shaman would not let the herd trample her, too. "Why do you cry, wife?" he demanded. "Do you have to ask, husband? Look, you have killed my father, whom I loved dearly. You have trampled him and broken his body for nothing. It was not necessary to do this terrible thing." "And so you cry for your dead father," sneered the shaman. "What about my family lying dead at the bottom of the cliff in the ravine? These are our children, our brothers and sisters, our parents. What about them?" But the girl could not be consoled. She tore her clothes in grief and wailed even more loudly. The shaman could clearly see her pain. Finally, he relented. "Only under one condition will I let you go back to your people. If you can bring your father to life again, you may go in peace." Encouraged, the girl sat up. "Do you promise this?" she asked. "You have seen that I keep my promises," replied the shaman. In truth, he thought that this was one he wouldn't have to keep. The daughter became very intense. "Magpie," she said at once, "will you help me find a piece of my father?" The magpie hopped around together with the girl, sorting around in the rubble the herd had made in their trampling. They hunted around until finally the magpie found a little bone splinter. "That is enough," said the girl. She took the bone splinter and placed it on a clean piece of ground that had not been trampled. She removed her wrap from her shoulders and covered the bone with it. As she began to sing over the bone, a mist came over her, so magical was her song. She kept singing and staring at the blanket covering the bone. Slowly, the blanket began to swell and tremble. Still she kept up her song. The shaman was very impressed and said so. Still the girl sang. Finally, the blanket moved, and when she removed it, there was her father, alive. He stood up. The shaman respected the girl for her devotion to her father. He knew he did not have the power to do as much for his relatives, even though he wanted to. So he asked the girl, Would you also do this for us?" "I don't know if I can. I seem to be able to do this for people, but I don't know what to do for Buffalo." Suddenly she felt sorry for the shaman, for she knew he was mourning the loss of his relatives. "I will teach you the buffalo dance," he said. "With your powerful spirit, you will be able to bring my relatives back to life. Each year, when you have killed the buffalo, as long as you continue to do this dance after each hunt, we will be able to come back to life and feed your people. In that way, you will show your respect for the sacrifice we make for you, and we, in turn, show our appreciation for your honoring us." This the girl did. When she had learned the dance, the old shaman thanked her and sent her and her father home. On their return, they told of what had happened. The girl taught the buffalo dance to the people in her village, and each year, after the hunt, all the people would gather to pay honor and respect to the buffalo that had died in the hunt, so the people could have food.